is Devon Petersen, and you're listening to Josh's Dartistry.
Hello, good evening, and a very warm welcome to this episode 31 of the Josh's Dartistry podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you along with us this evening. We've got so much to talk about. It's been a couple of weeks, probably about a month actually, since we last recorded, so plenty to talk about. I think we'll probably be focusing on a bit of UK Open action, obviously, and Premier League, but we'll see where the night takes us. But before we get there, let's introduce you to the rest of the team. Here he is, Sky Sports, Josh's Dartistry blogger, tennis player, Arsenal fan. It's Josh Gorton. Good evening, Josh.
Good evening, John. How are we?
I'm good. How are you? You've been playing tennis today. How was that?
Yeah, it was decent. It was a decent... We called it quits, I think, about 5 o'clock, midway through the third set. We called it level pegging. So, yeah, it was a decent little run out. It was quite nice weather this afternoon. It was grim this morning, so we got the best of it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely warming up, isn't it? Summer is on the way, and we look forward to some good weather. And let's introduce the man that you were playing tennis with this afternoon, the man who tells me before we came on air that he was whizzing serves past your ear rolls. It's resident stats man, Mr. Neil Connor. Good evening, Neil.
Good evening, John. How are you?
I'm good. Tennis. So you've given him a pummeling on court today, have you, Neil?
It was an interesting game. I did serve, I reckon, probably 5 or 6 aces. So
even if you do say so yourself.
Even if I do say so myself, but considering I'm nearly twice his age, I think I'm quite happy with how I'm doing. Other than that, all good.
Good. And a good result for Liverpool today?
Yeah, we were improved today. I think we've just been doing enough of late, and I think it's been a good run. Long may it continue.
You had a win over my second love, Brighton.
Yeah, they were a bit poor. They'd lost 4 on the spin before the game, and they went at us for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then as soon as Liverpool scored, they kind of took control. And up until about the last 5 minutes, they didn't really threaten. So, but they've done all right, Brighton. They'll be all right. They've got a good manager. Well,
my beloved Tottenham Hotspur just played a very strange game where we dominated possession, and I thought we looked good going forward and created, some good chances, but unfortunately, Neil, Ronaldo, the difference, bang, 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 hat-trick, and we lose the game 3-2.
I think that shows the difference a world-class player can make, because it did feel like a bit of a missed opportunity for Spurs, because they did seem like the better team for much of the game, but he seems to have a point to prove, and the first goal and the header are just brilliant, so he made the difference today without a doubt.
Could be top 4 gone for us. Josh, Arsenal playing tomorrow, aren't they? Leicester tomorrow, is it?
Yeah, Leicester tomorrow. Big week, really, because we've been used to playing one game a week, really. We've been out of the cup competitions and no Europe, but we've got Leicester, Liverpool and Villa. So a tough week. I think 2 wins would be great if we could manage it, but plenty of twists and turns yet, so can't get too excited yet, John.
Your favourites, though?
We are, which worries me.
Deal with that.
I don't like the favourites tag.
Deal with that expectation and pressure. Anyway, listen, we're here to talk about the darts, Josh, and I think the first thing we'll probably do is have a brief wrap up of the UK Open.
Yeah, the FA Cup of Darts, always one of the highlights of the calendar, John. It's always good for surprises, and this year was no different. We had another first-time major winner, not someone we expected really, but we'll be talking about that later on.
And also, Josh, I don't think we've had 5 weeks now, or 5 nights, should I say, of the Premier League, and I think this is the first time we've recorded since night 1. So, I mean, obviously, we won't discuss every single night in depth, but we'll have a sort of general roundup and see where we are with the Premier League. Yeah,
I think we last recorded, the week the Premier League was starting, and there was a lot of question marks about the format, which I'm sure we'll be discussing. I think it's been really successful so far. I've really enjoyed the format, and I think it adds a little bit of incentives to every night. I mean, they say every match matters. That was the sort of tagline to introduce a new revamped format, but I think it does, and you can see that the players are really hungry to, make their mark and get a win on the board. So Michael van Gerwen currently leads the way, but plenty of twists and turns. It's very tight in the middle of the table. So yeah, really interesting start to this season.
And Neil, now we've had 5 nights of data under our belts, the bookies have got some good information to be working with, and I think you're going to bring us some up-to-date odds for the Premier League, aren't you?
Yeah, I will do. I think we'll have a look at who the outright winner is likely to be, but also who might make the semi-finals and who may finish bottom of the table.
Good, looking forward to that. Josh, you managed to catch up with somebody who's not currently part of the Premier League, but I think certainly has designs on a competition of that stature in future.
Yeah, I had a great chat early this week, John, with Devon Petersen, and it was a really interesting one because Devon's had a rollercoaster 18 months or so. I mean, the latter stages of 2020, he was playing the darts of his life, one of the best players in the world, and then 2021, really tough for him. But he's getting his form back now, his confidence is starting to come back, and he's having some exciting news as well off the hockey in terms of his darts academy in South Africa. So really interesting developments there with Devon.
Good. Josh, I also know that today you've been watching some of the PDC Women's Series, haven't you? And you're going to bring us the latest on that.
I have, yeah. It's an extended women's series this year with 20 events over the course of 2022. And of course, we've got the Women's World Match Play taking place in July. So that adds even more incentive for these players because the top 8 after the first 12 events are going to be appearing in the Women's World Match Play. So 98 players were there today, and I'll be bringing you the updates from the opening 2 events. Good stuff.
Josh, in the news, we've got 2 or 3 talking points, haven't we? Top of the shop, we've got the German Darts Championship taking place at the moment.
Yeah, the second PDC European Tour event of 2022 is taking place in Hildesheim, which is a very hard word to spell. I know that from experience. We've got some news regarding the WDF World Championship, some breaking news about the lineup for that one, which takes place next month. Also some news about the Isle of Man Darts Festival, also in the WDF, and then the World Seniors Masters, which is the next event on the World Seniors Tour after the success of the World Seniors Championship.
Good, look forward to having a chat about those. Neil, I messaged you earlier on today. I know you were out, you were busy, and obviously we've already mentioned you were playing a bit of tennis with Josh this afternoon, and you didn't think you were going to get time to write a challenge, Josh, and I thought to myself, well, I can't be having that, and the fans of the show, the regulars, won't enjoy that at all. So I managed to find 20 minutes at work today, and I slipped 15 questions in your direction, didn't I?
You have, and it's a very interesting and topical subject matter. So I'm very much looking forward to that and putting him on the spot.
Excellent. Let's hope his camera's working because at the moment we're on the Zoom chat at the moment.
Well, I'm not sure it would be a fair and valid competition if his camera wasn't on.
We need to see him, A, so we know he's not cheating, and B, because we like to see the worried look on his face when he's answering the questions. So let's
it's all part of my master plan.
We'll try and get Josh's camera back up for that, and then we'll finish the show as we always do with Josh's Twitter chatter. Josh, had some questions come through on social media today?
Yeah, I put the feelers out yesterday, John. We had 3 or 4 questions. I've also sent another reminder now, so hopefully we'll have a couple more filter through as we record.
Excellent stuff. Well, there you go. That's what's coming up. That is your agenda for episode 31 of the Josh's Dartistry podcast. Sit back, relax, and let's talk all things darts. Obviously, there's a lot of rubbish and crap and nonsense and horrible things going on in the world. And whilst they are the main, that's the main agenda at the moment and the important thing in the world. It's nice every now and then to just switch off and have a chat about something we all enjoy. So thanks for joining us, Josh's Dartistry. If you know anyone who's in the market for a new podcast in their life and they like darts, do spread the word. We always obviously ask you as well if you can to go onto iTunes and give us a 5-star review. That helps us to move up the charts a little bit. So if you can do that for us, that'd be great. You can check us out on Twitter at Josh's Dartistry. Check out Josh's website, www.joshsdartistry.com. Lots of blogs and news and information on there. There's a couple of articles that went up over the weekend as well that I was reading. I think one of them we're going to touch on a bit later, Josh, regarding the situation in Russia, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. It has repercussions across the sporting globe, as we've seen in various different sporting bodies. But yeah, also it filtered its way through to darts.
You can catch the show, as I mentioned there, on iTunes. We're also on Spotify and all your favourite podcast providers. Facebook page as well is always available. Lots of debate going on over there. Josh's Dartistry on Facebook. So yeah, all the social mediums we are on. So check out Josh's Dartistry. Thanks for joining us. And here we go with episode 31. You're listening to the Josh's Dartistry podcast. Don't forget you can check us out on Facebook, the Josh's Dartistry page. You can also follow us on Twitter at Josh's Dartistry. And you can also go to our website, www.joshisdartistry.com, for all the latest news, blogs and information on the world of darts. Don't forget you can also call us and leave us a message on our voicemail box. That's 07739 738 329. That's 07739 738 329. Call our voicemail box, leave us a message, leave us a question, and we may play it on the show. Now back to the show.
This is Wayne Mardle, and you're listening to Josh's Dartistry.
Okay, Josh, let's get into it. Last week, UK Open, and a surprise winner in Mr. Danny Noppert.
Absolutely, John. Danny became the fourth Dutchman to lift the UK Open title, and he did so in dramatic fashion with an 11-10 victory over Michael Smith in the final. So more major heartbreak for Michael Smith. That's his seventh defeat in an individual TV final, his eighth in total if you count the World Cup of Darts in 2020. And I think this was one of the most painful for Michael Smith because for the first time, he was starting a major final as a real favourite, not just in terms of pedigree, but also the respective averages. But fair play to Danny Noppert. It was a scrappy affair, but he held his nerve together, survived the match start in the penultimate leg, and then came through. And I mean, there was a lot of people criticising Noppert's performance, but in fairness to him, if you look back earlier in the tournament, I think he averaged 97, 97, 99, 95 in his first four games, beating some good players as well, the likes of Devon Petersen, Dirk van Duijvenbode and Damon Hester, who knocked out Michael van Gerwen and Johnny Clayton. So he didn't have it easy, Danny Noppert. The semis and final were a little bit scrappy, but he held his nerve superbly well and showed great composure under pressure. So a massive, massive moment in Danny Noppert's career.
Neil, Josh is right to say that Danny didn't have an easy route to the title, but I would slightly caveat that by, it is an open draw, so anything can happen. It's not, seeded and brackets like we're used to in a lot of the competitions. It wasn't an easy run to the final, but I would say there are tougher routes to the final. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, I don't think he's played one of the top players in the world. I think he's played players that, on occasion, have had good runs of form. I think we've already mentioned Devon Petersen and how well he played last year, not playing as well. Dirk van Duijvenbode, another one that was really, really hot at one stage, but he didn't play sort of a top 6, top 8 player. So I agree, it could have been a more difficult run, but you can only beat what's put in front of you, and that's what he did.
Yeah, absolutely, and to go on and win that competition, it's obviously something that nobody around this table has ever done. So, I've only got applause and respect for him. But you're right, Josh. There was a few negative comments, particularly on his average in the final as well, wasn't there?
It was, yeah. And I mean, to be fair, I was watching the game, and I was saying to Neil, I said I felt Michael Smith beforehand would win quite comfortably, but the danger was if he got embroiled in a tight scrap, because that's what Noppert sort of feeds off. And to be fair, Smith had opportunities and didn't put him away. Danny just stayed with him, and then a 13 darter in the decider. That's quality darts by anyone's standard. But in terms of the average, yes, it wasn't a classic final, but Danny Noppert won't care. I mean, they always say they don't put the average on your trophy, do they? He's a major winner. He's a PDC major champion, and nobody can take that away from him.
Yeah, absolutely. Will always be on his CV and his Wikipedia page. Yeah, fair play to him. Let's have a look at Michael Smith as well, Josh. How many times are we going to have a conversation and say, we feel terribly sorry for Michael Smith? It seems to be a regular conversation in the darting world.
I did really feel for him. I mean, you could caveat his record in finals and say he's played the likes of Van Gerwen, Wright, Rob Cross, Gerwin Price. He's played top players. Danny Noppert, with all due respect, is not one of the top 10, 15 players. Well, he wasn't before this final in the world. So this was a real opportunity for Michael Smith. He'd beaten Gerwin Price, who was then the world number 1 in the quarterfinals. And I think we all felt that was a big moment, given how open the draw was. But I think he played the occasion, Michael Smith, rather than the final. You could see his rhythm wasn't there. He was looking a little bit tentative. I think if it had been the semis or a quarterfinal, he'd have beaten Danny quite convincingly. But I think he played the occasion. Of course, there's question marks surrounding his mentality and can he get over the line. I still believe he will. He's still very young in darting terms, and he's got a great mentality, and I think the way he bounced back in the Premier League on Thursday is testament to that. But that will hurt for some time, I'm sure.
And Josh, just looking at the venue as well, nice to return to Butlins at Minehead, wasn't it, and have a full crowd.
It was, yeah. It's always a great weekend there. I think the fans go down for the duration, don't they? So it's real darting diehards. We had some fantastic matches as we expected. A couple of 9-darters. Michael Smith being one of them. James Wade landed perfection. I think Jose Justicia also hit a 9-darter, I believe, earlier in the competition. So plenty of 9-darters. Quite a few shocks. We referred to Michael van Gerwen. I wouldn't call him going out to Damon Hetter a shock, but I think a 10-4 scoreline is certainly a shock. And the open draw always lends itself to these sort of matches. I think we had Michael van Gerwen against Gary Anderson in the last 64. Joe Cullen against Peter Wright at the same stage. So 2 all Premier League clashes very early on in the competition, which opened it up for the lesser players, if you like.
Neil, Josh mentions there about the open draw. I particularly enjoyed after the day's play or the session, seeing the guys on stage with the balls coming out of the hat, much like we see in the FA Cup in football.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? We all love the FA Cup draw in football, so it's nice to see it in the darts. And as I've always spoken about when we've done these episodes, it's nice to see a different format. This one with the open draw, it certainly adds an element of drama. And the draws are great just to see who everyone's going to get.
It was interesting as well when it came to the draws and seeing which players had made it through to certain rounds. I mean, Josh, just looking at the quarterfinals, the lineup there was maybe sort of 6 or 7 players there that I really wasn't expecting to see come the quarterfinals. And I mean, no disrespect to any of that, all fine players, all of them. You know, they're all in that tournament on merit. But you know, when you look at that quarterfinal lineup with Keane Barry and Sebastian Bielecki, William O'Connor, Heta, you know, some quality names there, but names that I perhaps wasn't expecting to see in the quarters.
Absolutely. I think the 2 maybe surprise packages were Sebastian Bielecki from Poland and Keane Barry. I mean, Bielecki was really unlucky against O'Connor in the quarterfinals, missed a match start to win 10-9. Keane Barry, I thought, he's a very talented prospect. I've been a massive fan of his for the last couple of years. We saw him play Johnny Clayton at the Worlds and lose out in a thriller. And the way he dismantled James Wade in the quarters was so impressive, because Wade didn't play poorly by any means. But Barry was so solid on the doubles, and he was 6-2 up against Michael Smith in the semi-finals, and who knows what could have happened then. But yeah, the youngsters really performed well, and I think it's really exciting time for the sport, because we've got the unpredictability. Yes, Peter Wright's a new world number 1, but we've got so many contenders for tournaments now, and these youngsters are showing no fear on the big stage.
Just on James Wade's performance, Josh, before the tournament began, you and I were having a chat, and I highlighted the fact that Wadey was, with most bookmakers, at around 50-1 to win the tournament. I did have £5 on James to win, so I was disappointed when he got knocked out by Keane Barry, but I was equally delighted when James hit that 9-darter, because I think I'm right in saying there's no player around that's had more 9-darters hit against them than James Wade.
You're spot on, yeah. He's usually on the receiving end of them. But to be fair to James, he has hit his fair few himself. I think that's his 4th on TV now. And he played really well all weekend. I think his first match, he played Steve Lennon, and they both averaged over 104. So that was a really high-quality game. In the Premier League the last few weeks, James has played some really good stuff. He's got that reputation of being a scrapper, which he is. But he's also capable of producing world-class darts. I mean, he's not world number 3 for no reason. And I really felt he'd have a great chance of going all the way, particularly when the draw was made and Smith and Price were put against each other in the last 8. But take nothing away from Keane Barry, it was a special performance in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, Neil, just on the rankings, we have had a lot of movement on the order of merit over the last couple of weeks, and after the last week's action, we see Michael van Gerwen move down to 5th in the world.
Yeah, it's kind of unheard of, isn't it? Because we've gone from a period of, I wouldn't say domination, because that would be unfair to some of the other players that have won big titles as well. But we've gone from tournaments where he has consistently been the favourite and consistently expected to win, to now him dropping to 5th in the rankings. And I think if someone would have said 2 years ago that was going to happen, no one would have believed it. But if my understanding is correct, Josh, it runs on a 2-year cycle of prize money, doesn't it? So
it does, yeah.
The fact he's had his lull, which for most players wouldn't be considered a lull over the past 2 years, is why that's happened, because he hasn't been able to defend the money that he won 2 years ago.
And of course, it's very heavily weighted, the Order of Merit, to the World Championship.
Yeah.
And I think a couple of years ago he lost to Chizzy in the quarters, and this year he was pulled out with COVID. I think it was the last 32, last 16 stage. So if he has a couple of good runs at the Worlds over the next couple of years, he could be world number one again in 2 years. It's not, it's not beyond the realm. So yeah, it can all change, but it is. I agree with you. I mean, if you'd have said it in 2019, you'd have been put in a straitjacket, because he was winning 25 titles every year. It wasn't domination, but it was close to it. It was probably the closest we've seen since Phil Taylor for that period between 2015 and 2019.
And Josh, also on the rankings over the last couple of weeks, lots of toing and froing between Peter Wright and Gerwin Price for that top spot.
Yeah, and I think we might see that pattern continue for the rest of 2022, John. There's still not a lot to separate them, but the way that the 2-year system works, Gerwin had to reach the final in Minehead to retain his world number one status. Michael Smith put pay to that, so Peter Wright is now the new world number one, and a fabulous achievement from Peter. I think 52 years of age. He celebrated his birthday on Thursday. He's the oldest first-time world number one, the 11th man to achieve the feat in the PDC, and the first Scotsman as well. When you consider Gary Anderson and the success he's had, that just shows how difficult it is to achieve that world number one status. So yeah, credit to Peter Wright. Even though he changes his darts every week, he's still the world number one.
Yeah, many congratulations to Peter, and I think we're all going to enjoy the battle between those two to see who can stay out in front. Neil, just returning back to our winner, Danny Noppert. He's been playing PDC darts since 2018, so relative newcomer to the PDC. Obviously, he's been playing darts a little bit longer than that, but just how far can Danny go in the sport? He's got his first major win under his belt. Surely he's only going to take confidence from that and kick on.
Yeah, and I think we've seen that in the past with players, haven't we? That sometimes it takes a big win like this to really kind of kickstart their careers.
Well, the one who comes to mind is probably Johnny Clayton, isn't it?
Yeah, he was one that was always a very, very good player, but not someone that you would have tipped to become a Premier League winner and dominant like he was for a certain period of time. So technically, a lot of these players are all around the same level. I think the thing that makes the difference between being a top player and just below that is your ability to deal with things mentally. So the belief that he's got from winning this will be interesting to see whether it does have that effect of making him mentally stronger so that he can kick on and establish himself as a regular winner.
Josh, will we see Noppert in the Premier League next year?
I don't know. I mean, you'd have to say he's got a good chance, because it usually is a precedent that a major winner would qualify for the Premier League. But we saw Rob Cross miss out after winning the European Championships this year. I think it largely depends on how many major winners we see this year. But with all due respect to Danny, he's not what I would call a Premier League player in terms of the image, maybe the style of his play. He's quite methodical, isn't he? I mean, not that is an issue for me personally, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does miss out. But there's a long way to go before we contemplate that. I don't think he's a shoo-in, though.
Josh, any other standout performances from the UK Open that you wanna highlight? Anyone that particularly impressed you, or did anyone particularly let you down?
I wouldn't say anyone let me down particularly. There was quite a number. I think Keane Barry was a standout. We referred to him earlier on. I think he's only 19 years of age. He showed at the World Championship the quality he has, and it was only a superb Johnny Clayton who stopped him from winning that. I think William O'Connor, again, very unfortunate. He lost to Noppert 11-9 in the semis. He was 5-1 up, so he'll be really disappointed to have lost that. Bielewski, we referred to him earlier on as well, didn't we? I think there was a couple of Riley's qualifiers who did really well. Graham Hall was one of them. I believe he reached round 4, including a win over Steve Beaton before bowing out. Damon Heffer as well. He'll be disappointed with the way he performed in the quarterfinals against Danny. But to beat Michael van Gerwen and Johnny Clayton in one day in a best-of-19 leg match, that is testament to his quality. So, yeah, a number of standout performances, a really interesting event, and a surprise winner.
I was quite impressed, Josh, with Dimitri van den Berg. He had a good win in the fourth round against very, very talented player in Daryl Gurney, obviously 10-2, but unfortunately succumbed in a tight game against Ryan Searle in the next round.
Yeah, Ryan Searle, one of the most emerging players on the circuit. I think he was 6-2 down against Lewis, came back and won, beat Dimitri in a high-quality game, but then lost to Bielewski in the last 16, which was a real surprise, because no disrespect to Sebastian, but that was a perfect draw, really, for Ryan Searle. I thought he might kick on and go all the way. So it'd But yeah, Dimitri's getting his form back. He's had a tough little period, I think, with injury, and I think he missed out the Grand Slam due to COVID. So it's not been the best few months for Dimitri, but he's still one of the best players in the world. And yeah, good to see him playing some quality darts.
Okay, well, there you go. That is Josh's UK Open roundup. And many congratulations to Danny Noppert for his first major win. And we look forward to watching Danny's progress as we move through the rest of the year. Josh, let's turn our attention now over to the Premier League. As we said at the top of the show, we haven't recorded since the competition began. So we have had 5 nights: Cardiff, Liverpool, Belfast, Exeter and Brighton. And it's going to throw up a lot of discussion points, isn't it? Various different winners we've had and the format. Just give us a brief overview of what we've seen for the first 5 nights.
Well, John, in terms of the first 5 nights, we had 4 different winners in the first 4 nights, until Michael van Gerwen became the first man to double up. He won back-to-back nights in Exeter and Brighton. So Michael leads away, and he's played some superb darts over the last couple of weeks. In Exeter, he only lost 3 legs over the entire night, beating Peter Wright 6-0 in the final, having dismantled Johnny Clayton and Michael Smith along the way. So it's good to see Michael producing some of the brilliant darts we know he's capable of. He'll just now want to transfer that to the ranking events. But Michael van Gerwen leads away on 14 points with 2 night wins. Peter Wright, he was our night 1 winner in Cardiff. He's on 10 points alongside Johnny Clayton, who won night 2 in Liverpool. And we saw Gerwin Price winning night 3 on a remarkable evening in Belfast, where he hit 2 9-darters in the same evening, one in the semis against Michael van Gerwen and another in the final against James Wade. So Gerwin Price and Wade are both tied on 7 points. But Price was unfortunate. He had a hand injury, so he pulled out of night 5 in Brighton. But yeah, MVG leads the way, but it's all very tight. And I think with 5 points on offer for the winner of each night, you don't really get too cut adrift. Even if you are languishing at the bottom, a couple of really good nights and you're right back in the mix.
Remind us of the format again, Josh.
So it's 8 players. Basically, you have 4 quarterfinals to start off the evening. And it's like a mini tournament each night, essentially. So, and you get 2 points if you win your first match and get to the semis. You get 3 points if you reach the final, and 5 if you win the event, and an extra £10,000 bonus prize if you win that night. So plenty of incentive. And yeah, so I think it's been a real success so far. I mean, I think as a fan as well, you get definitely value for money in terms of you get more matches. And also every night you're seeing a winner crowned rather than just maybe 4 or 5 matches where you could have 3 or 4 draws, for example. There's more jeopardy here.
Okay, so as Josh mentioned there, Michael van Gerwen leads the league table with 14 points, 2 nights 1. Peter with 1, Johnny Clayton with 1, and Gerwin Price with 1. Bringing up the rear, James Wade, I think, he's level on Price with 7 points, so he's not doing too bad. Cullen and Smith with 5, but we really need to talk about Gary Anderson, and not just his performance in the Premier League at the moment, but his performance in general, Neil. I don't know with Gary. There was a lot of debate from darts fans online about his inclusion, which 3 or 4 years ago would have been an absolutely insane conversation to be having. Gary Anderson, one of the most famous darts players on the planet, consistently there or thereabouts in a lot of the major tournaments. But Neil, at the moment, it's just not going for Gary at the moment.
Yep, and I think that's a surprise. Well, it's certainly a surprise to me because we're talking one of the very best. And someone that normally on the big occasion that is capable of performing at very, very high levels. So I don't know why. It just something doesn't seem quite right. It's a mystery.
Josh, what are your thoughts on Gary and his performances at the moment?
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised. I mean, Gary is notoriously a slow starter, but he actually won on the opening night against Van Gerwen in the first quarter final. Only just lost to Peter Wright in the semis. So I thought Gary, the way he started, I thought it was quite promising. And he's one of those players, Gary. I don't think last couple of years, the blocks of events, for example, where you have a Pro Tour or 4 Pro Tours, then nothing for 2 or 3 weeks, I don't think that suits him. He needs to be playing regularly. So I think the fact we've kind of returned to more normality this year would suit him. But he's not found his form at all. And I think he was really poor against Michael Smith on night 5. Very erratic on the doubles. His first dart was consistently in the 5 or the 1. He's so good, Gary. I'm not going to write him off. He could still make the semi-finals for me. He's that talented. But I don't know how much he's practicing as well. He says he doesn't practice. Whether that's completely true, I'm not too sure. But if he isn't practicing, I think he certainly needs to hit the practice board because he's in danger of being cut adrift. He's got Johnny Clayton, first up on night 6. And I think if he loses that one, he is really in trouble. I think he's 5 points off Gerwen, Price and James Wade in that 4th position already. So he'd need to win a night just to draw level with those in 4th and 5th. So, but I don't think it's the results as such that will concern Gary. I think it's more the performances. But we see when Gary is fired up and hungry, we see what he can do. Just at the World Championship, he was amazing. Got to the semis, only just lost out to Peter Wright, who was playing at his very best. So I think those who are sort of, calling Anderson's demise already, I think it's a bit premature. I think it's just maybe a case of motivation, hunger, practice. But yeah, he'll need to put it right soon because it's been a bit disappointing from Gary so far.
You could argue that he was unlucky last week in the UK Open, couldn't you, with the draw against Michael van Gerwen in the 4th round?
Yeah, when things aren't really going for you, that's the sort of thing that happens, isn't it? We know it's always a possibility with the open draw. He didn't play too badly against Michael, a little bit scrappy in patches, but it was a tight game, 10-7. A couple of decisive moments went Michael's way. So yeah, it's not been the best of times for Gary. We know he doesn't play on the European Tour, so the Pro Tour, which returns next weekend, offers him an opportunity to try and get some wins under his belt and some confidence. But he's so good, Gary. I think when he gets written off, that sort of fires him up. So I wouldn't be surprised next week if people are criticising him and calling out his performances. It wouldn't surprise me if the real Gary Anderson turns up next week in Nottingham.
And Neil, you asked Josh to just give us a summary and a reminder of the format. We obviously did our Twitter space 6 weeks ago where we sort of gave our thoughts on what we thought we could expect and whether we liked the idea of the format. Now we've seen it 5 nights in a row. What are your thoughts? Are you enjoying it?
I am. I think it needed freshening up, and I think this has done that to a certain extent. So far so good. As you say, it's 5 weeks in. How we'll feel over the next few weeks, I don't know, but I think for now I'd say it's certainly giving it the freshening up that it needed.
And Josh, I'll be interested to know not only your personal thoughts on the format and how you think it's going, but obviously you're a lot closer to the players and the press and the fans, and working in and around darts. How is it being received by everybody, really?
I think overall it's been very positive. I think the fans certainly enjoy it. I know the pundits, from speaking to them, they also agreed with what Neil said. It did need a little bit of freshening up. I think from the players' perspective, it probably depends how they're doing. I'm sure Gary Anderson's probably hating it right now, and Michael van Gerwen's loving it because he's top of the tree. And I think one thing I will say, it does give players a chance to adapt a bit more. I mean, sometimes if you're playing in a new venue, a huge atmosphere, first game up, nerves could affect you, whereas now you've got a chance to get a game under your belt and sort of play your way into form. So I think it's been a real success so far. The only danger perhaps could be it could get monotonous if you have, for example, Wright, Van Gerwen, Price contesting every final every week. But the way the draws are sort of manufactured, you're not playing the same players every week. And we've seen 4 different winners in 5 nights. So far, it's been unpredictable, and long may that continue.
Yeah, I agree. I've really enjoyed the freshen up of the format. I think Neil's right. I think it did need freshening up, and it's brought something new. So I'm really enjoying it. So there you go. Michael van Gerwen leads the table after the 5 nights, but all to play for, Josh, isn't it? Because we've got quite a few nights still to come, haven't we?
Absolutely. We're not even halfway through the season yet, and we go to Nottingham next week. Then it's the visit to Rotterdam. So Michael van Gerwen will be desperate to prevail on home soil. I've also got a couple of visits to Scotland later on in the season to Glasgow and Aberdeen. So plenty of twists and turns ahead. But Michael van Gerwen looking good so far. And I think he's topped the league table in 8 of his 9 Premier League seasons. Even last year when he was maybe a little bit off form, he still topped the league phase. So you wouldn't back against him making it 9 from 10.
Josh, we had one night postponed, didn't we, because of the restrictions in Germany. Is that night being rescheduled?
Well, it's been rescheduled for June, I believe.
Right.
On a Monday night. So I think that's still a little bit up in the air. I wouldn't be surprised if that is rescheduled yet again, because I think originally the playoffs were meant to be held in Newcastle. But of course, if it is rescheduled until June, then that would put a dampener on that. But I think we're sort of waiting to see what happens with Germany's COVID restrictions. That's why the nightfall was postponed.
Okay, well, there we go. As I mentioned, we've had 5 nights. The bookies have got plenty of data to work with now. So let's have a look at the odds.
Cool. What are the odds?
Okay, let me hand you over to a resident statsman, Mr. Neil Connor.
Okay, so carrying on the theme of the Premier League this year. So if we look at outright winners, the outright winner, and all these odds are brought to you by Sky Bet. Michael van Gerwen, despite his fall from the top of the world over the past couple of years, is 5-2 favourite, with Peter Wright 10-3 and Gerwin Price 4-1. So the same three players topping the odds. Bit further down, Johnny Clayton 9-2, Michael Smith then 9-1, Joe Cullen 12-1, James Wade 14-1, and Gary Anderson, who we've just been talking about, 40-1. Any comments on that, or I think it's pretty much as expected?
Well, it's nice to see Michael van Gerwen back at the top of the tree for a few.
Yeah.
A lot of tournaments recently. We've not been talking about Michael van Gerwen as the favourite.
I think largely that's because he's 4 points clear, isn't it? You know, I mean, he's a big favourite already to make the playoffs. I'm a bit surprised at Wade being 14-1 because he's right in amongst that. I think he's level with Price on points, and Wade's played quite well the last few weeks, so I think that's decent value. Price, the issue with Price is his injury. We hope it's nothing long term. He's pulled out the European Tour this weekend, but with a hand injury, I mean, as a dart player, your hand is your tool, isn't it? So if that's anything long term, that would affect his hopes. But we hope he can return next week in Nottingham.
Josh, I think James will enjoy being 14-1. He did make a comment last week during the UK Open about being written off and not having the eyes and the spotlight on him, and he's just going to carry on doing what he does.
Yeah, I think it was blowing the smoke up other people's backsides, wasn't it? Was a quote, John.
Yeah.
But he's right to an extent. I mean, he's world number 3. He's a 10-time major winner, and he's proven it so many times over the years, James. And I don't think there's a better player under pressure than James Wade. And in these short format matches, I know we lost a deciding leg to Michael last Thursday, but in these short format matches where, one error, one lapse could be costly, James is the ideal man to punish. And I think he's got a real chance. If anyone's going to break into that top 4, which is currently Van Gerwen, Wright, Price and Clayton, I think Wade could be the man.
So we can have a look at who's going to finish top of the table or who's going to finish bottom of the table. So, Josh, if I was to ask you who was going to finish top of the league, who would you be picking?
It's a bit of an obvious answer for me. Van Gerwen. I think the only one who might usurp him is Peter Wright.
Yeah, and I think the odds actually sort of evidence that. So Van Gerwen is 5-4 favourite to finish top of the league, with Peter Wright at 3-1. Gerwin, Price and Johnny Clayton a bit further back at 11-2, with everyone else 14-1 or higher. To finish bottom, I think we, as things stand and with his current form, Gary Anderson is unsurprisingly the favourite to finish bottom of the table, and he's 5-4 on for that. Followed by Joe Cullen at 7-2, James Wade 11-2, and Michael Smith 13-2. Everybody else 20-1 or higher.
I think Joe's got to be a bit careful.
Yeah.
I think Joe's got to be a bit careful. I mean, he had a really good night in Liverpool, got to the final, got 3 points. But since then, he's not won a match. He got 2 points due to Price pulling out on Thursday. He got a 6-0 win, but he's not won a match since then. And his averages haven't been brilliant. He's been missing a lot of doubles. So I'm so pleased for Joe that he's in the Premier League and he's had a brilliant start to 2022. But he's got to be a little bit careful, because I think he could start getting dragged down towards Gary, at the bottom of the table.
Yep. Could be a bit of value in that.
Yeah, definitely. Talking of value, Neil, the value bet for me in both markets there to win the Premier League, but also to finish top of the league. Johnny Clayton. For me, Johnny Clayton's been the best player in darts. I know he didn't win the Worlds, but the Worlds isn't the be all and end all. But for me, Johnny's been the best player in darts across the last 12 months, and I think 9-2 to win the comp and 11-2 to finish top of the league. Neil, could be a few quid to be made there, in my opinion.
Yep, and he's got form, hasn't he? So he's the reigning champion. He could definitely go there, and he could definitely do it again. So yeah, 9-2 I think is decent value.
Okay, Neil, any more odds for us?
Well, we can have a quick look forward to the World Championships of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
So it's obviously the same players at the top, but tournament favourites, Michael van Gerwen and Gerwin Price 5-1. So I think we've been used to sort of the odds being shorter in terms of the favourites. So I think that's evidence that there's more uncertainty now as to who's going to win the biggest competitions because of the quality of the players that there is. Peter Wright 11-2, so just slightly longer than Van Gerwen and Price. The Ferret at 15-2, and Michael Smith 14-1. So they're the 5 players currently that Sky Bet are ranking as the most likely to be the world champion in 2023.
Good stuff. Well, there's some early betting tips there for the World Championships at the end of the year. If you've got some money burning a hole in your pocket and you want to get off down the bookies, hopefully Neil has given you some good advice. That was What Are the Odds?
Cool, what are the odds?
This is Damon Hedder, and you're listening to Josh's Dartistry.
Hi, this is Josh from Josh's Dartistry. Check out our website www.joshisdartistry.com for all the latest news, interviews and insight from the darting world. Do you want to get involved in the conversation? Then tweet us at Josh's Dartistry or message us on Facebook at Josh's Dartistry to have your say. Thanks for listening.
Hello everybody, I'm Glenn Durrant and you're listening to Josh's Dartistry.
Okay, Josh, as we mentioned at the top of the show, you had the chance to catch up with Devon Petersen recently.
Yeah, absolutely. I spoke to Devon earlier this week, John. Really, really in positive spirits, Devon, as he always is. I think that's why he's one of the most popular players on the circuit. I mentioned it's been a bit of a rollercoaster 18 months or so, but he was in really bullish mood about his form, about his prospects going forward, and he had some exciting news about his darts academy in South Africa.
Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry.
Right, guys, I'm delighted here to be joined by South African star Devon Petersen. Devon, how are you, mate?
Josh, I am fantastic. My smile could not be wider. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very good. It's great to hear, Devon, and we're a few months in now to the new season. How would you assess your start to 2022?
I think that it's definitely better than it was in 2021. That's no doubt. My form is definitely picking up the work that I've done behind the scenes with the likes of Chris White, Wayne Mardle, Colin Lloyd, all of these guys contributing to my success. I feel like I'm on the path to returning or bettering my best season that I had in 2020.
It's great stuff. And at last weekend's UK Open, you lost in the 5th round, but you had some really good games. You beat Jelle Klassen. I think Jelle averaged nearly 100 in that. And then you lost to the eventual champ, Danny Noppert, 10-8, which could have gone either way. So plenty of positives to take from that weekend.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Jelle Klassen's game, he's in great form. It's a pity he's not on tour because he came into that game throwing back-to-back 100 averages, which we know Jelle Klassen's class. I mean, he's a world champ by virtue of his ability, and this was going to be a tough fourth round game, and I knew that I was up against it. But I also know that my prep that I've been putting in and just kind of knurling away at everything that I've done so far it kind of proved that it is working, and that was a great result for me. The Danny Noppert game got a bit away from me by slight mistakes, but Danny punished at every interval, and when I actually got my breath back, I had an opportunity to make it 9-all, but I slipped at the last hurdle. But it's all part of the game, and Danny obviously eventual winner in the end, which is not great, simply because I feel like that was my title, because if I beat him I would have been champ, but that's for another day.
Absolutely. And you referred to it earlier. It's been a bit of a roller coaster 18 months or so, because in late 2020 you were one of the best players in the world, won the European Tour event, you were smashing so many 180s in, and then 2021 was really tough for you. But do you feel like you're starting to regain that form and that confidence now?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, 2021, not a lot of people know, but there was a slight little niggle on my wrist, which caused me to throw differently.
Mm-hmm.
Or I needed to kind of change my throw to actually compete, in a sense. And my form deteriorated with my confidence of my throw. And yeah, it was one of the reasons why the form dropped. But we're back to working together with the team and kind of rehabilitating all those areas that I had issues with in 2021. So yeah, I feel like everything is looking positive. It's great, and yeah, my focus and confidence is as good as it was. So I think that it's not long before it all just pops off, and I return to a great form.
And anybody that follows the sport will know just how positive you are as a person. How important has that mindset been for you over the last 12 months in particular?
No, I think that like I only know how to be positive, so for me that's normal. So I if you asking me how it felt just to go through that things, I knew that at the end of all this kind of the struggles that I was going through, all I just needed to do was make sure that every single day I was 1% better than I was the day before, and in the end I'd kind of come out of it. So yeah, it was never always a panic. Form doesn't just disappear, or ability doesn't just disappear. There's something that obviously hinders it, and if you work at it, you can come out of anything really. So yeah, it was just a 1% kind of mental attitude of just being positive and just being better by 1%, and that's a small margin. So I'm really proud of coming through that, simply because it could have damaged me, because I know that there was a run of games where I was losing first round consistently and not even being able to average in the 90s, which is a competitive average. If you're averaging below that, you're not going to compete for anything. And I just knew that if I focus, put my head down, just do everything like I should, in the end I'll come out smiling, which I feel like I am now.
You're entering a new chapter in your career after partnering with Shot Darts. Now, I believe your new range, it launches later this month, doesn't it? But just tell us a little bit about your decision to partner up with Shot.
Yeah, Shot, I mean, a unique brand. I mean, it's a storytelling brand. It's a global brand as well. It's not as big in the UK as yet, but I think that partnering up with me benefits them as well as it benefits me. I think it benefits me more, simply because there are people that look at the science of the dart and make sure that the player is comfortable with the tools that he's using so that it can propel his career. And then obviously they will piggyback of that. And the people at Shot are phenomenal. It's great that the dart that's going to be launching, when you're purchasing that dart, you're purchasing basically a piece of African history, which is not just by purchasing an African warrior dart, but in the grip, we've designed the grip to represent a part of African history. And it's just about the warriors and all of these things. So yeah, it's going to be a storytelling kind of grip. And on the packaging as well, there's a story to it. So it's going to be, it's a crazy experience to go through this, because the attention to detail that Shot, like the way in which they look at the designs and all of these things, it's something that I've never experienced. I've been with 2 companies before, great companies as well, but just based on a storytelling kind of brand, Shot is phenomenal at what they do.
That sounds really exciting. I can't wait to see that. And you've been working also really hard away from the hockey as well. I think you posted on social media last week a picture revealing significant weight loss. So you must be really proud of that and looking forward to reaping the rewards, because we know how grueling the PDC circuit is, and fitness is now becoming an important part of the modern game, isn't it?
100%. I mean, we are the modern players, and the schedule is so busy. I mean, we're traveling every week, so your body does take a toll, and malnutrition will kind of affect the way in which you concentrate and focus and just your feeling and your approach to the hockey. And it was something that my team put in place, having a nutritionist come on board, using Herbalife products, and just making sure that I maintain my fitness. I don't have to be at peak fighting weight all the time, but when I'm off the hockey, I want to make sure that I'm replenishing my body with the nutrients that will make me enhance my game and give me that 1% or 2% extra when everybody else is maybe feeling a bit tired of travel and stuff. I'm coming in slightly a bit fresher, slightly a bit more awake, slightly a bit more focused. And these small percentages all add up around the game. And my main goal is to be world champ. So all these percentages add up, and in the end, I'm sure that we'll reap the rewards because of what I'm consuming.
I also believe you've got some exciting news about the Devon Petersen Academy and the development of darts within Africa in terms of your partnership with Shot. So just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the Devon Petersen Academy has been something that I've worked along like for probably the last 3-4 years in partnership with the JDC. And because of COVID, it halted all our planning and just launching it. But now we're at the point where COVID's now out of the way, in a sense. Things are going back to normal, and now we're launching the academy in South Africa first, with ties potentially in Nigeria and hopefully in the US as well. So we'll be sprouting in different areas on the global map. And who knows? I mean, my end goal is to have an academy in each continent and spread across different countries. So yeah, it's exciting news. We're giving these kids an opportunity to develop, have one-on-one coaching with myself and my team, and then also looking at raising funds to make sure that they get to see the world and through darts like I have, and experience the opportunity, and also nurture and in a controlled environment to get them to a professional stage at a later point, because teaching them from a young age how to manage funds, how to make sure that you stay in peak performance and fitness and food and focus on the game, and putting the fundamentals in from the foundations that you don't have to learn when you've already created bad habits. We start from the top and from the bottom, and then you rise to the top, and our end goal is to have more players on the PDC competing for world titles and number one spots from Africa, and that's where we're at, and I'm so excited to be announcing that, simply because it also leaves a legacy that I didn't just I never just earned my Pro Tour card and done it all for myself. It's literally giving back to the African kids and everywhere else kids, and just development in the sport that's given me so much opportunity, and I just want to kind of pay my way and give it back.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that legacy question, because I mean it's brilliant to win titles and become one of the best players in the world, but we've seen the scenes of youth players in South Africa. I remember when you beat Northern Ireland in the World Cup of Darts a couple of years ago. There was a fantastic video on social media of youth players in South Africa jumping up and down, after you'd hit the winning double to win. So how important is it for you to create that legacy for the youngsters coming through?
Yeah, I think, and like you say, I mean, seeing that kind of support, and it's what we get constantly. And these young players look at you as a role model. So having an opportunity to kind of nurture their abilities, I mean, it's such a massive thing, and leaving a legacy is it kind of leaves your mark on a sport and in the world as well, with regards to, I wasn't just here for myself. I'm here to give you something back that you cannot give me back, which is as the way in which you can measure a successful life. Because we take all the time and we get these free things, but how much do you give back, which is where you measure somebody's kind of feeling towards the sport. So yeah, it's really something close to my heart, and I'm happy that it's taking off now, and there's so many more announcements that's coming as well. So it's fun. I can't obviously divulge yet, but no, cool. Yeah, it's gonna be a stepping stone, and I think that it's in years to come we will yield a lot more African competitors in the PDC.
No, we're definitely really looking forward to seeing those announcements in the near future, Devon. And just looking at the PDC Order of Merit now, you're currently the world number 26. Now, I'm sure you've got a fair amount of money to defend in the latter stages of 2020, but you're an ambitious character, we know that. So is it a case of you looking up rather than worrying about prize money to defend later on in the year?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, defending, man, you can't really defend it because all you need to do is be in the tournaments, and if your form is great, it takes care of itself. You can't stop anything from coming down off the rankings. I literally don't even look at where you placed. It's just based on how I'm playing. So I feel like I'm getting closer to my 2020 form, and when that clicks in, I'll have the know-how how to win, and the understanding and the confidence to push through, and probably better my 2020 career. And the money that we're talking about defending, I might even end up as in the top 10. I mean, winning the World Champs is a massive opportunity, and that's always an opportunity that exists. And the amount of prize money that's there, if you win that, you basically in the top 10 in the world. So yeah, I don't worry too much. The rankings take care of themselves when the form on the board does its job.
We mentioned 2020, that was the best period of your career so far, but do you believe what you've gone through maybe over the last 12 months will actually help you become a better player?
100%. I mean, having reached those heights and knowing that I've reached them without really understanding or computing what was really happening, simply turning up and playing in this kind of form where everything technically was correct, and sitting down now with my throw analyst and looking at the way in which the form was. We're working closely. We're close to getting back to that kind of form and understanding and feeling. So now looking at it, it's a complete different dynamic, because now we've been through that and we know what it's like to be at the lowest point where everything is kind of capitulating around you. But knowing that you can reach those heights, and this is what we target. We don't look at the lows, we look upwards, like you say. So yeah, it's really an amazing experience, both experiences, because it showed strength on both sides. So being able to shoot up the rankings, and then the next year not performing but still maintaining the confidence and focus to work on the game. So for me, it's just gaining that experience. So when my next chapter will be my best chapter, it's gonna kind of bolster my mentality for when I do become the world champ. That's mainly the big thing for me.
And you've said it to me, and you've said it in previous interviews about your desire to become world champion. But in terms of 2022, have you set yourself any targets for the season, or is it just a case of focusing on performances and the rest will fall into place?
Yeah, it's obviously every single season it's the same thing for me. It's not, because you can't say I want to win 2 or 3 titles. You think it, and when people ask me that question, I generally say I'd like to win 3 Pro Tour titles, because that would be excellent. And then you look at multiple European titles, but the big one for me is simply the World Champ. So everything that comes together with the form, it then just falls in place. And if my form is right on the day, I'll probably win every tournament. But if not, then I'll choose to win 3 and multiple European. So yeah, with regards to setting our targets as in to win, it's just how the day goes. My big thing is focus on the form, and if the form's right, the darts will fly correctly and I'll be successful.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing how you go for the rest of 2022, Devon. Thanks very much for your time today, mate, and best of luck in Germany this weekend.
Cheers, Josh. I appreciate the call. We'll catch up soon.
Definitely. Cheers, Devon. Thank you, mate.
Cheers.
Josh's Dartistry. Josh's Dartistry. Josh's Dartistry. Josh's Dartistry.
Well, there you go. There's Josh's chat with Devon Petersen, and lots going on, Josh, for Devon at the moment.
Yeah, it's an exciting time for Devon at the moment. I think, as I've mentioned, 2021 was really hard for him, but he stayed really positive, and I think mentally he's a very strong character, and that will hold him in good stead. He talked about his partnership with Shot Darts, and he's got a new darts range coming out later this month, so that's exciting news for him. He's got the Darts Academy in South Africa, and he's so passionate about trying to create a legacy in South Africa, which I'm sure he's already done, and he'll continue to do so. And he's very positive about his prospects going forward. He said to me before in the press room when I've seen him, when he used to work at Sky, and after matches, he believes he'll be world champion one day. It's not a case of if, it's a case of when. And the way he played at the end of 2020, you'd be hard to argue against that. Of course, his form's dropped off, but his averages have been steadily improving over the last few weeks. He's been doing a lot of technical work. He said putting in 5 or 6 hours a day on the practice board, and I'm sure he'll soon start to reap the rewards from that.
Neil, can Devon become a world champion in your opinion?
I like Devon.
We all like Devon. Who doesn't love Devon Petersen?
Yeah, but I just don't think. I was going to ask Josh what he thought as to whether he thought his form over the past, he had a really good run of form, whether he thought that was just something that he could get back in terms of that level of performance. I'm not convinced. I have a feeling he had a bit of a hot streak where he played very, very well. I think there might be some technical deficiencies that will stop him competing at the highest level on a consistent basis. So for me, no.
Josh, your retort.
I mean, it's a fair argument. I mean, Devon at the moment is world number 26. He's never really threatened to win a world title yet, but I'm not going to write him off. I think he spoke quite interestingly about 2021 and his difficulties, and I wasn't really aware he'd been struggling with injury throughout 2021, which had affected his throw, and he was having to make some technical changes to his throw because of that. So we'll see now that he's pain-free, whether he can get that form back. It'll be interesting to see whether he will be able to get that form back, or whether 2020 was a purple patch. But belief is so integral in any sport, and in darts more so. So while he still believes, I'm not going to write him off. I mean, Peter Wright, 15 years ago, no one really knew Peter Wright's name in terms of the echelons of darts, even though he was mid-30s, Peter. Now look at him, he's world number 1 and a 2-time winner. So I'm not going to write Devon off, but the consistency in his game is something he's got to address, because all these players in the PDC can post 100-plus averages. It's doing it game in, game out.
Yeah, I just think winning the World Championship is a step too far. I'm sure there's still going to be some positive performances in some big tournaments. But it's interesting what you say about injuries and stuff. But yeah, consistency definitely the key.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, we wish Devon all the very best for the rest of 2022, and of course we thank him for taking the time to come on the show and have a chat with Josh.
This is Luke Humphreys, and you're listening to Josh's Dartistry.
I feel happy, won't you call me on the telephone in the
Call the boys on 07739 738 329. That's 07739 738 329 and leave them a message.
Hi, I'm Gerwen Price, and you're listening to Josh's Dartistry.
Okay, Josh, let's turn our attention to the ladies. You've been watching some of the new PDC Women's Series, haven't you?
I have indeed, yeah. Kicked off today, Saturday in Barnsley, 98 player field, and both events were won by the one and only Lancashire Rose Lisa Ashton, the 4-time Women's World Champion. She has laid down the marker for the Women's Series in 2022 with 2 titles, which pretty much guarantees her spot in the Women's World Match Play in July, which, let's be honest, we knew she was going to be there anyway, Lisa, but really positive start to her 2022 season, having, of course, lost her tour card in January.
Yeah, fair play. Great performance from Lisa so far, and I'm sure she's only going to go from strength to strength. Neil, does Lisa Ashton get the credit she deserves?
No, I don't think so, and I don't know if that's because when she's competing in tournaments like the World Championships at Ali Pali that she hasn't done herself justice. But I think she probably does from those in the game. Those within the game have a lot of respect for Lisa and what she's achieved. But I think there will be fans that will be influenced by her performances, as I say, at Ali Pali that haven't really done her justice.
Josh, in the build-up to the World Championships, the recent World Championships just gone, there was a lot of conversation about, the Premier League being freshened up, and we've already spoken about new formats, and obviously there was a lot of chat about should we include a female competitor, and Fallon Sherrick's name was consistently linked to that possibility. But on current form, if we were going to put a female player into the Premier League, be that on merit or otherwise, I think we'd be looking at Lisa Ashton, wouldn't we?
I mean, yeah, out of the 2 on current form right now, and we haven't seen too much of Fallon since Q School, and there was an awful lot of pressure placed on her, I think, by the media, which didn't really help her, in fairness, at Q School. But Lisa's achievements, I think they are underrated. Not only has she won 4 Women's World titles, to be the only woman to come through Q School and win a tour card, that is a serious achievement, because we've seen some world-class players, world champions, miss out at Q School. But, Lisa wasn't at her best today either, and that's testament to the quality she's got, that she was able to, like I say, win 2 events when she wasn't playing at her best darts. I think the issue with Lisa has been she's not produced her best on the big stage against male opposition, whereas Fallon seems to thrive in that occasion and maybe isn't as strong as Lisa in the floor events, the bread and butter.
Okay, Josh, just put some flesh on the bones. I mean, obviously we've mentioned Lisa winning both events, but who else has performed well?
Well, the opening event was won by Lisa, but against Wales's Rhiannon Griffiths, who's a well-known player to all those who follow the women's game. Lorraine Winstanley, the former Women's World #1, she beat Fallon Sherrick in the quarterfinals of Event 1 before losing out 5-1 to Lisa. We had Scotland's Chloe O'Brien. She also got to the semis of Event 1 and then the quarters of Event 2, so a really consistent day for her. Fallon had a disappointing day by her very high standards. The averages weren't what we'd expect from Fallon. A lot of averages in the 60s in the opening event. She improved in the later stages of Event 2 and lost 5-4 to Lisa in the semis, having missed a match dart. So disappointment for her, but Fallon's still in a very strong position on the order of merit. And Lisa in the final of Event 2 beat Ireland's Robin Byrne. So, like I say, some new faces appearing in the finals. We've got no Dieter Hedman this weekend, no Bo Greaves, no Mikuru Suzuki. Bo and Dieter at the Isle of Man Festival. Mikuru hasn't made the trip over to the UK for this one. So it's an opportunity for some of the lesser players besides Lisa and Fallon to really stake their claim to be at the inaugural Women's World Match Play.
Josh, when are the next Women's Series events?
We've got 2 more tomorrow, John, in Barnsley, and then I think it's another couple of weeks before the next set of events.
And how can we watch those events?
All the games are available to follow on Darts Connect TV as usual, and also the PDC website is streaming one board throughout the entire competition. So you can keep up to date that way.
Yeah, and on that, Josh, I did mention this just before we went on air to record the show. A couple of complaints online about the feed on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I switched on early on about 10 o'clock and there was a few technical hitches. It was lagging, I think, early on, which is obviously a little bit frustrating for the players and the commentators and everyone involved. But I think about an hour or so later it was resolved and we were able to watch the arrows uninterrupted. So, yeah, hopefully tomorrow there are no gremlins in the system.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Okay, we'll keep a keen eye on that one and, we'll bring you all the very latest on the Women's Series.
Hey, I'm Holly James. and you are listening to Josh's Dartistry podcast.
Right then, welcome back to the show. It is now time for many people's favourite segment of the show. This is Challenge Josh.
Challenge Josh.
Yes, that's right. It is time for Challenge Josh. 15 questions on a specific darting topic for Josh to tackle. On that basis, let me hand you over to a resident quizmaster, Mr. Neil Connor.
Thank you, John. So, looking forward to this special episode of Challenge Josh. Josh, any ideas what you think it might be about?
Not too sure, really. No, got no set ideas.
So, Butlins Minehead.
Oh, hello.
I'm not very good on Minehead.
What do you know about Butlins Minehead?
Not a great deal, which is a bit worrying.
Right, we're going to find out.
Oh, dear God.
What year was Butlins in Minehead built?
Before I was born.
So UK Open, this year's winner, Danny Noppert special.
Danny Noppert special, Josh. How do you feel about a Danny Noppert special?
This could be the first ever Danny Noppert special, I think, ever.
Well, listen, he's an up-and-coming player in the game. It's time we educated both ourselves and our audience a bit more about the life and times of Danny Noppert.
Yeah, I think I needed educating before this quiz. That's my worry.
Okay, Josh, do you have pen and paper to hand?
I do, yeah.
Good, because I know you like to make notes. Neil, are you ready?
I am, indeed.
Okay, on that basis, let's take it away with question number 1.
So I think he'll fly through some of these. So let's try and make it as difficult as possible. So, Josh, question 1. How old is Danny Noppert?
He is 31.
Oh.
Yeah, straight in, 31 years of age. Josh, I think that's probably something that's come up in your reporting quite a lot in the last few days.
Yeah, that's one of the most topical sort of things we put. So I probably wouldn't have known before the UK Open, but yeah, doing the reports has helped me there.
Good. 1 out of 1. Let's move on, Neil, to question number 2.
From what country does Danny hail?
From the Netherlands.
Yeah, from the Netherlands. And Josh, as you said earlier, the UK Open loves a Dutch winner, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's been a happy hunting ground. We've had I don't know can I name them or not?
No, you normally don't. You normally don't need an invitation, but I can tell you now, there's no Raymond van Barneveld question in here. So,
well, I'm going home then. Likely I'm home.
I did make a cheeky comment on your Twitter feed the other day about you crowbarring Barney into every conversation.
So then I proceeded to do another tweet which included Raymond in.
Yeah, friend of the show, Raz, enjoyed that as well. He liked that.
He did indeed.
Okay, yes, he does indeed. How from the Netherlands. Neil, let's move on to question number 3.
Okay, so what is the nickname of Danny? What is Danny's nickname?
The worst nickname in world darts, the Freeze.
Okay. Yeah. And do you know why?
I think it's something to do with where he hails from. In like Freezerland or something. I don't know the exact pronunciation. I think
Freezerland. My mum goes shopping at Freezerland. Oh no, that's Iceland. Sorry, that's Iceland.
Dear.
He's also some people refer to him as Noppy.
Yeah, that was his old nickname, which again is not particularly inventive. But yeah, this has been his nickname for the last couple of years, I believe.
Well, there you go. The Freeze. Okay, let's move on. Neil, let's go to question number 4.
Okay, so Danny's first ever TV title came in 2017 whilst competing in the BDO. Which title was it that he won? So Danny's first ever TV title was when he was in the BDO and was in 2017. What title did he win?
Josh's camera's gone very dark. We can barely see him now. Oh, that's better. We like to see your face, Josh.
I thought I could see him tapping on a keyboard.
No, it's one or two, I think, because he's not won the Worlds, he's not won the Masters. It's either the World Darts Trophy or the Finder Darts. That's in Holland, so No. I'm going to go with the Fender Darts Masters.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
That is correct.
Very good.
The Fender Darts Masters, Josh, a very popular competition back in its heyday in the BDO, Josh. Some good winners from that competition over the years.
Yeah, it was formerly called the Zuiderdoin Darts Masters, I believe, and you always get a huge number of participants, particularly from Holland. There, yeah.
Okay, good.
Why is it called the Finder's Darts Masters? Is that to where it's held, or?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. I don't know if it's a sponsor. Yeah, I'm not too sure.
Whenever I hear the Findus Darts Masters, I know it's spelled DERS, but I hear the word Findus. And I don't know if you remember, in my childhood, I used to eat a lot of Findus frozen crispy pancakes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I was.
It makes me think of Findus crispy pancakes whenever I hear that. Anyway, moving on from Findus crispy pancakes, he is 4 out of 4. Let's move on to question number 5.
Okay, so question number 5. What is Danny's current position on the PDC Order of Merit?
12th.
That is correct. He's currently 12th on the Order of Merit. Josh, quite high, in and around, the top 10.
Yeah, but he's been in and around the top 16 for the last year or so. I think he was 19th before the UK Open, but obviously winning the £100,000 has bumped him up a few spots.
Mm. Yeah, some big money to defend.
Sorry, just going back to Finders.
Yeah, go on.
It's an international operating company, and they took over the naming rights to the tournament in the 2015 edition of the tournament onwards. So there you go.
Every day's a school day.
That was weird.
Jinx. Okay, great minds think alike. Yes, he is 12th on the current PDC Order of Merit. He's 5 out of 5. We're a third of the way through the questions. Let's move on to question number 6.
Danny has never made it past the third round in the World Championships. PDC World Championships, this is. Mm-hmm. Who did he lose to at this year's World Championships?
Ryan Searle.
And what was the score?
Wow.
It was 4-1 or 4-2, I think.
No. It wasn't a 50-50.
What, is this part of the question? Is this part of the question?
Yeah.
4-2.
Oh, God. Yeah, he's correct. 4-2. Well done. Ryan Searle, yeah. Never made it past the third round, Josh.
Yeah, surprising, like I say, for a man in the world's top 20 and with his record. But I remember the game against Searle because I think Searle had never beaten him. And he was talking it up before they played. So that's how I just remembered that one.
Okay, well done. It's another correct question. You are 6 out of 6. Let's move on to question number 7.
But Danny has fared much better at the BDO World Championships and finished runner-up in 2017. Who did he lose to and what was the score?
We lost to Glenn Durrant.
Did he?
He did, yeah. I can tell you that for a fact.
Did he?
Oh, right. Very adamant. Assertive.
7-3.
God, he's annoying.
He's very annoying.
Yes, lost to Glenn Durrant, 7-3 in the 2017 BDO final. Josh, was that his debut?
I believe it was, yeah. I think, and then he only made 2 appearances at the BDO World, and then he switched to the PDC.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, runner up to Glenn Durrant, 7-3. Okay, 7 out of 7. Neil, give us question number 8.
So Danny famously won his first PDC major last week, which was the 2022 UK Open.
Yeah.
Who was the title sponsor for this year's competition?
Kazoo.
And what did Kazoo do?
It's cars, isn't it? That annoying advert.
I'm going to assume that's correct.
It is. It's online cars, isn't it?
Online cars. Kazoo, yeah. Okay, good. 8 out of 8. Haven't tripped him up yet, Neil. I've let you down so far. But let's hope question number 9 does the job. Here we go.
Who did Danny beat in the final, and what was the score?
He beat Michael Smith 11-10.
Yeah, we were never going to trip him up with that, were we?
No, but it's important just to get him sort of lead him into a false sense of security.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before he gets hit with the sucker punch.
The hand grenades that are being kept in the back pocket. Okay, we have got 6 questions left to go. Neil, give us question number 10.
Okay, the UK Open saw no less than 3 9-dart finishes.
Mm-hmm.
Can you name who hit them? And I know we've already covered this. So who were the players that hit them?
Jose Justicia, James Wade, and Michael Smith.
Okay, and can you name their opponents when they hit those 9-darters?
You're having a laugh, aren't you?
Nope.
No, the question says who hit them and who were they playing against? It's very clear.
Who are they playing against?
Yep.
Yeah, so when someone hits a 9-darter, normally they've got an opponent.
Patronising, I love it.
Oh, that's a stitch up.
So
James Wade, I think he was against Boris Kirchmar. Pad out Michael Smith's route.
There's some scribbling taking place on a pad.
Who did Michael Smith?
So yeah, earlier in the podcast, Josh obviously did mention the 3 people that hit those 9-darters, but as yet he didn't name who they were against.
I've got no idea about Jose Justicia in general, to be honest.
That's Jose never coming on the show.
I think Michael Smith was against Mensur.
Okay, so
Michael Smith was against Mensur Sulovic. I've got absolutely no idea about.
Okay,
you want to have a guess?
You're going for Smith against Mensur, and you're going for James
Wade
Wade
against Kirchmar. Justicia was 3rd round. It was early on. It was in the first day. It was on the first day, but who he played, I would not know.
Are you going to pass, or are you going to have a stab?
Might as well have a guess.
No, Bielewski. I don't know. It was like Eastern European player, but I can't remember who it was.
Is that your final answer?
Yep.
We got him, Neil. We got him.
We did, finally.
That was a hard question.
Adam Gaulas.
Oh, right. Eastern Europe, Czech Republic.
Yeah, you don't. No points for geography in challenge, Josh.
That's a shame.
We tripped him up, Neil.
We did.
He's finally got one wrong. So he is 9 out of 10 as opposed to 10 out of 10. Let's see if we can trip him up once more.
That's harsh. 5 out of 6 I got there.
Stop your whinging. Let's move on to question number 11.
How much money did Danny win for his triumph at this year's UK Open?
£100,000.
Yeah, £100,000 for the win. Nice little bit of wedge nil in the back pocket for Danny.
It's a decent amount, isn't it? So not bad for a weekend's work.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move on to question number 12.
Right, and I want you to think very hard about this one, Josh.
Okay, that's ominous. Yeah.
So, is Danny left-handed or right-handed? So think about the question. Is he left-handed or is he right-handed?
Now, when you start to get paranoid, this could be a trick question. Because there are players that are they throw with their non-dominant hand, if you like. I think he's right-handed. To my knowledge, he's right-handed.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
You're going for right-handed, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is correct. He is right-handed. Neil tried to throw in a lot of doubt there.
That was a very straightforward question, but I thought I'd try and
dress it up a little bit.
Have some fun.
Well, there are players, like I say, Terry Jenkins, and I have to mention him, Ramy van Barneveld, are both left-handed, but throw right-handed. So
very talented.
Well, they're not. You can't be left-handed and throw right-handed and say you're left-handed.
Well, they are left. What? They are.
What do you mean? Is they write with their left hand but throw with their right?
He's left. No, they are both left-handed. Barneveld and Jenkins.
Very strange.
Throw darts with their right hand. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's like you see cricketers that are left-handed batting right-handed.
I might try it next week. I was going to improve my game.
You got there before I did.
Okay, that one was correct. Only dropped the 1 point so far, 11 out of 12. So let's move on to question 13.
Danny Noppert's walk-on music is a song by pop rock group Panic at the Disco. Can you name the song?
I can. It's one of the few I do know. It's High Hopes.
Yeah, High Hopes. That is correct, and it sounds like this. Well done, Josh. I'm impressed. Normally, you're not very good at the old walk-on music questions. You're not great with bands, and sometimes you're not great with the song title either. But you nailed that one really quickly.
I'm lucky that it's one of the more modern songs, isn't it? You know, so that helped me a bit.
I'll be honest with you. That was one of my hand grenades in the back pocket. So I'm
that was one of your high hopes, wasn't it, John?
That was one of my high hopes. Yeah. So well done. You are 12 out of 13. We've just got 2 more left. So let's see if we can trip him up, Neil, with number 14.
Yep. So Danny won his PDC Tour card at Q School in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Where did he win his tour card?
At Q School. Is
that your final answer?
No, well, that was my It was I think that might have been one of the first years they had like the European Q School.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not 100% on this, but I know it's been held in the last couple of years in Hildesheim, so I'm going to guess Hildesheim, but I don't really know.
So is that UK or is it European?
That's the European. He won it by the Order of Merit, I think.
Yeah, that was very naughty, that as well, Neil, because you've slightly rephrased the question. He's tried to trip you up, because the original question I wrote was Danny won his card at Q School in 2018. Which Q School did he enter? The UK Q School or the European Q School? Because
I see.
I know this year we had some European players entering in the UK Q School, and I thought we might try and trip you up, but Neil's tried to put a bit more flesh on the bones and make you fall into a trap there. But unfortunately, you were unsuccessful, Neil.
Yes, indeed. I'd be interested to know if he was right though about where did he say?
Hildesheim. I think.
Hildesheim.
We'll Google that in the break and
I'll have a look in a minute.
I will be checking that out.
Okay, 13 out of 14. Just dropped the 1 so far. We've got 1 more question to go to try and trip him up. Here we go with question number 15.
Danny's average in the final of the UK Open was 84.82, and it's the lowest ever winning average in the final of a TV tournament, counting towards the PDC Order of Merit. Whose record did he break by setting that low average?
You don't want the average. You just want
I don't know yet.
Yeah, we'll decide. If you get the name right, we'll ask for the average. We're not stupid.
Well, 3 possible things we could ask here.
Neil, could you just, for the benefit of myself and the listener, just ask the question once more?
So, Danny's average in the final of the UK Open was 84.82, and it's the lowest ever winning average in the final of a TV tournament that contributes towards the PDC Order of Merit. Whose record did he break by setting such a low average to win the final?
I don't know, but I've got a feeling it will be at the World Grand Prix because that's a double win.
Okay.
So double start. Usually your average is a bit lower.
It's very logical.
Yeah, I like that.
Could be completely wrong though. If it's like who won it, Warren a Little, Lloyd. I don't think Taylor would have it.
So the question really, Neil, you're just looking for the name, aren't you? You're not looking for the tournament. You just want the name.
Yeah, unless he gets the name, then I'll...
Yeah, okay.
I might go Alan Warren a Little.
Okay.
Final answer?
Final answer.
Yeah, we got him again. Over to you, Neil.
So it wasn't at the World Grand Prix. So
okay.
Despite your logic, you were wrong. It was at the 1999 World Match Play. Does that give you any more hints?
Rod Harrington?
Yeah, 85.95.
I'm going to have a little search of this.
What? Are you saying I'm wrong?
No, I'm just surprised if there'd been no lower one at the World Grand Prix. World Grand Prix. Oh
God! Hang on, what's that?
83.52.
What was that for?
Warriner, 2001 World Grand Prix.
That's not what I had written on my paper anyway.
Uh-oh.
Oh well, unlucky.
Oh, dear.
So hang on, is that definitive? I'm not sure about that.
Well, it's whether you wanted to count it, because obviously it is a double start.
No, I think I did mention standard format.
Did you?
Standard 5-0, yeah.
Yeah,
remember
definitely
that.
said standard format, and
Yeah.
nobody rewind this and listen back, okay? But yeah, it was definitely standard format. Okay, we're gonna say that Josh got 13 out of 15, are we, Neil?
Yep.
Okay, 13 out of 15, dropped 2 points. Josh, other than that, I thought you did very well on Danny Noppert.
Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. Only getting one wrong, I'll take that, John.
Neil, I think you can write the questions next time.
I thought they were a good set of questions.
They were good.
They're topical, and him getting 13 is reasonable. As long as he doesn't get 15, I'm fine.
Yeah, as long as he drops the 1 point, I'm always happy. Josh, 13 out of 15. Well done. Many congratulations. That was this episode's challenge, Josh.
Challenge Josh.
This is Stephen Bunting, and you're listening to Josh's Dartistry.
Hi, this is Neil from the Josh's Dartistry podcast. Thanks for checking out the show, which you can download at Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, and all your favourite podcast providers. You can also check us out on our YouTube channel, Josh's Dartistry Darts Podcast. Thanks for listening.
Hi, this is Steve Bean, and you're listening to Josh's Dartistry.
Okay, it's now time to turn our attention to some of the other stories in the darting world. This is In the News.
In the news.
Okay, Josh, currently taking place at the moment, a European Tour event, German Darts Championship. Can you give us an update on what's been happening?
Yeah, so the second day of action has just finished now, John. So we've got our last 16 lineup at the German Darts Championship. No huge surprises so far in terms of the big names. We mentioned earlier on in the show, Gerwen Price has pulled out due to his hand injury, so he won't be winning the fourth consecutive European Tour title. But the likes of Michael van Gerwen, the world number one, Peter Wright, Johnny Clayton, they're all safely through. Joe Cullen, of course, Premier League star, is through. There's a couple of surprising results I want to bring you. Mensur Suljovic whitewashing Callan Ridge 6-0 in the penultimate game. And followed by that is Chris Dobie losing 6-0 to Karol Sedlacek, who you watched, I know, on Friday night. John beat Adrian Lewis 6-2. So
yeah, I did watch that game. Just before you continue, Adi Lewis, I mean, it wasn't great, Josh.
It wasn't, no. It's a strange one with Adi. I mean, at the UK Open, first match, he averaged 108. So the game is still there, but the consistency isn't, and I think he's dropped out the world's top 40 now. And for a player of his incredible ability, that's criminal, really. And he needs to start putting some consistent results together to get back up into the world's top 32. Because at the moment, he's not going to be in some of the major TV events, so his ranking isn't going to improve significantly. So, yeah, disappointing for Adi, because the European Tour is a really good avenue for players to get their form back and get some real ranking prize money. But Devon Petersen as well, who we had on the show. He unfortunately lost, the defending champion, lost to Michael Smith 6-4 in the second round. Tough draw that, though. No shame in losing 6-4 to a player of Bully Boy's ability.
Yeah, European Tour events. Always a big fan of the European Tour events. Get some good atmosphere. And I know Dan Dawson's a big fan of the European Tour, isn't he, Josh?
He is. He's a connoisseur of the European Tour, is Dan. And it's been really good. I've really enjoyed the coverage. You've got Paul Nicholson and Mark Webster as well, part of the commentary team this weekend. So a really, really good trio. So I'm looking forward to tuning in on finals day now.
And traditionally, some of the sorry to interrupt, Neil. Some of the European Tour events, Josh, they're a hotbed for 9 darters, aren't they?
They are. We went through quite a while without hitting one. I think it was called the Curse of Ross Smith. We went about 5 years after he hit one without seeing one. But they're hit so frequently now on the PDC Pro Tour and of course the European Tour. You know, I think we'll only see a few more hit towards the end of the. Well, we've still got, I think, 11 more European Tour events, so I'm sure we'll see plenty over the course of 2022.
Just on Callan Ridge, obviously he had a phenomenal performance at the World Championships and looked like he was ready to put himself at the very top of the game. Looked like he had the confidence, looked like he had the determination. Looked disappointed when he lost. I think it was in the semi-final at the World Championships.
Quarters to Peter, yeah.
Oh, quarters, sorry. So how's it gone for him since then?
Not brilliantly, to be fair, Neil. He's not really hit the heights since the World Championship, but I think that's fairly normal. I think there's a bit of a hangover there in that respect, and he's got a great talent. I think he tweeted a few weeks ago after a disappointing start that he needs to start hitting the practice board again and get his head back on. But he's got such an incredible talent, and also he's not defending too much on the Order of Merit this year, so he's got a real chance if he can get that consistency going on the Pro Tour to keep climbing up the PDC rankings.
Yeah, because he looked like he was ready, didn't he? At the Worlds, he was very, very impressive. So,
and like
as you say, maybe it's a bit of a lull after how well he did, and it won't be long before we see him back.
And it was like you said though as well about him being so disappointed, because sometimes when you're a young talent and you make the World Championship quarterfinals, you can almost just be happy to be there and be part of it. But you could see he wasn't. You know, he felt he had the game to win, and to be fair, he'd only dropped one set in getting there, so you can understand that. But I think that's refreshing to see that he believes he's there to win. He's not just there to make the numbers up and have a nice run.
Yeah. I think we'll see good things from him going forward, if I'm honest.
I'll tell you what I fancy tomorrow, Josh. Just looking at that third round draw, Rob Cross takes on Dirk van Duivenbode. And the winner of that will play Jose de Souza or Sedlacek. I think Rob Cross, might be able to discover a bit of form in this competition and maybe go all the way.
Yeah, Rob's had a solid enough start to 2022 without being anything spectacular. I mean, his performances over the last 6 months have been much improved since he won that European Championship. Jose won in spectacular style though against Kim Huybrechts today. I think he went ball, treble 15, double 10. On a 1:15 finish as only Jose de Souza can. But yeah, a chance for Rob Cross. I mean, it's mad because he's won 2 European Championships and he's never won a European Tour event. So tomorrow could be a chance to put that one right.
And if Peter Wright gets past Ratajski and Van Gerwen gets past Lukman, we could have Peter Wright versus Van Gerwen quarter-final, Josh. Who would you fancy in that?
Well, they've played twice in the Premier League this year, and Van Gerwen's 12-1 up in legs.
Wow.
So on that basis, you'd have to fancy Michael van Gerwen. But Peter Wright, he always has incredible support in Germany, and I think he'll be wanting to sort of underline his world number one status by winning a title. So he lost in the final of the opening European Tour event to Gerwin Price, so I'm sure he'll be desperate to go one better this weekend.
Josh, I mentioned at the top of the show, hopefully this podcast and other sort of, interesting things that people have can provide a bit of distraction from, some of the bad stuff that goes on in the world. Obviously, we've gone through 2 years of COVID. Darts did really well, in my opinion, through COVID and managed to sort of carry on playing as to the best of their ability, albeit without a crowd, sometimes online. But also, we have to give a shout out to everybody in the Ukraine at the moment. They have our full support. I think I speak for all of us when I say that, and we hope for a speedy resolution to the awful atrocities that are being committed in the Ukraine at the moment. But as you said, Josh, it does affect the sporting world, and it has affected the world of darts, hasn't it?
It's awful what's going on in Ukraine. It's just devastating. But you also do feel for the players that have been pulled out of the World Championship. Unfortunately, we've had 4 Russian competitors pulled out of the WDF World Championship across both the men's and the women's draw, and the highest profile one is Anastasia Dobromyslova, the 3-time women's world champion. And Anastasia lives over in the UK, and she has done with her partner Tony Martin, I think, for a number of years now. And you feel for Anastasia. I mean, she's a wonderful ambassador for the sport, a great person, a great player, and it's really disappointing to see her have to miss out. And she'll be replaced by Fallon Sherrock, who originally turned down the chance to compete in the WDF World Championship when it was scheduled to be in January, because I think it clashed with Q School. And she wanted to focus on trying to get a PDC Tour card. But of course, a change of circumstances. She's been presented now with this opportunity, and she's going to be competing at the Lakeside in April, where she'll be trying to win her first women's world title. With no Lisa Ashton, of course, in the field, you'd have to say she'll be a heavy favourite.
Neil, I don't want to get too political and put you on the spot, but obviously, what's going on in Russia will affect the sporting spectrum. What do you make of, somebody like Dobromoslova having to, not partake in that? And also, we like a chat about football on here. Obviously, what's going on with Chelsea Football Club at the moment, very much in the news. What do you make of the whole situation?
I think it's a terrible situation, and I think the word atrocious is the right word to be used. I think this is very much a war based on one man, and that's having devastating effects on the people in Ukraine, and now that's also having impacts on people in his own country of Russia as well. So I think it's very sad, obviously, with the violence that there is and the invasion of the Ukraine. That's absolutely terrible. I think it's also very sad that people within his own country are being penalised because of his actions. In terms of Chelsea, I mean, what do you say? It's the guy's had close links to Putin for many years. My view on, and I think it looks like the way the government are playing it, is that they understand the club's importance to the community, and they will do everything they can to make sure that it's not endangered, whilst they also ensure that Roman Abramovich is kept as far away from anything that's going on with that football club as possible. And I think the Premier League have disqualified his director status today. So it's an absolutely shocking situation. Obviously, thoughts go out to everybody in Ukraine for the terrible atrocities. And unfortunately, not for Roman Abramovich, but other sporting competitors like Anastasia, they're now being penalised for the actions of Putin.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation, but as I said, our our prayers and our minds and our hearts are, of course, with all the people in the Ukraine, and we can just only hope for a speedy resolution. Josh, let's move on. You're going to bring us news from one of my favourite darting competitions, the Isle of Man Darts Festival.
Indeed, Jen. The news centres around Bo Grieve, the 18-year-old sensation. I think she burst onto the scene as about a 13-year-old. She's so talented. Reportedly was struggling with Dartistry in the latter stages of last year, which was a real shame, but she seems to have put that to bed because she's thrown some superb darts at the Isle of Man Festival. An 105.45 average yesterday in her semi-final, which included a 10-dart leg, which is just fantastic darts. And she's going to be playing in two finals against Dieter Hedman, in the Ladies Classic final and the Ladies Masters final. There's also the Ladies Open today. I'm not too sure what the final scores are there, but I know that both Dieter and Bo were in the quarterfinals of that one on opposite sides of the draw. So we could have three finals involving Dieter Hedman and Bo Grieve this weekend. Two of the highest profile players, not at the women's series, of course.
Bo Greaves is certainly one to watch, Neil, which is somebody whose name has cropped up time and time again with us over the last 12 months. And let's hope she can get to those levels of consistency that the likes of Lisa Ashton and Fallon Sherrick have enjoyed recently.
Yeah, and I think she will. The potential that she's got is unbelievable. And, if you're posting 105 average, you're up there with the very top players in the world. So there's a lot of promise. And I think Bo, we will see and hear a lot of her in the future.
Okay, one final story for us, Josh. We obviously all enjoyed the World Seniors Darts Championships earlier on in the year, and we've already spoken before on the show about the upcoming competitions that they've added to this tour schedule. We've got the World Senior Masters draw and schedule announced now, haven't we?
We have, yeah, that's the next big tournament on the World Seniors Tour. That's taking place in the last weekend of May at the Lakeside. And the 20-player field has been announced. We've also got the draw and the schedule. We've got Robert Thornton, of course, the champion at the World Seniors. He'll be looking to try and make it back-to-back, and he could play Kevin Painter in the last 16. And they, of course, met in the semi-finals at the Circus Tavern last month. So that's a really interesting tie. Phil Taylor. He could play, well, he will play either John Parr, the three-time world champ, or Paul Lim in his opener. That's going to be a really interesting one because I think we all expected Phil Taylor to be there or thereabouts. I think I did predict Thornton to win, admittedly, but I think we all expected Taylor to play well. And It didn't really go to plan for him, but he's vowed to make amends, and you wouldn't put it past him. I'm sure he's been hitting the practice board hard, Phil. But we've got the likes of Martin Adams, of course, finalist at the World Seniors. He's going to be there. Bob Anderson, Keith Stella, John Lowe, Terry Jenkins, semi-finalist. And we've got 3 female participants, Trina Gallagher, MBE, Lisa Ashton, and Dita Edmonds. So fantastic field of players. Really looking forward to that. Like I say, coming up towards the end of May.
Yeah, the World Seniors Tour gathers pace. We look forward to that. Okay, that's all our news items for this week. This was In the News.
In the News.
This is Dan Dawson, and you're listening to Josh's Dartistry.
Okay, we're approaching the end of the show, but before we go, we've got time for some questions from the floor. This is Josh's Twitter chatter. Yes, that's right. It's time for Josh's Twitter chatter. We've had a few questions coming through on social media. Let me just turn to the Josh's Dartistry Twitter page. Josh, you put out a call for some questions. I think a friend of the show, Woody Rudd, is up first. Woody says, "Hi lads, hope you're well." Thank you, Woody. Always good to hear from you. Can you envisage another major being added to the PDC calendar? The last one, if I remember, was the Grand Slam back in 2007. Something big like a US Open would be great, using the same format as the UK Open and obviously include more US players. The World Series has done well to bring darts to fans around the world, but another major would really grab the attention of fans and media if it was to be played across a few days in another country. Keep up the good work, says Woody. Josh, thoughts on that?
It's an interesting one, really. I mean, as Woody said, we haven't had a new major now on the calendar, a ranking one anyway, for quite some time. In terms of going to another country, we did have the Las Vegas Desert Classic. I think that was always a favourite of players and pundits alike, getting a trip to Las Vegas. And that was a ranking event. I'd quite like to see, I think variety is a spice of life, isn't it? And I think we all quite like the new Premier League format. It freshens things up. I'd maybe like to see, I don't know, maybe another tournament with a set play format. We've got the World Grand Prix and we've got the World Championship. But for me, there's not enough set play on the PDC Tour. So something like that. Michael van Gerwen, I think, has been talking about maybe having a tournament starting with legs starting from 1,001 as opposed to 501. Something just a little bit different. Maybe even like an old sort of News of the World style tournament where you've got first 2 or 3 legs, it's a straight shootout, all the 128 players on the PDC Tour, something like that. I'd just like to see something a little bit different that would, like I say, grab the attention. I think there's room for it. I mean, there's a lot of TV events now on the calendar. It is jam-packed, but we do have a lot of non-ranked events, particularly on the World Series circuit. So I think we could certainly make way for one of those to add another ranking event to the schedule.
Yeah, it's a shame that the last World Series event that was going to take place in the States got cancelled, didn't it, due to COVID? I think, Neil, weren't they due to play at Madison Square Garden? I think that would have been a real spectacle.
Was that the venue, Josh? I think
that was. Yeah, they're heading back hopefully this year though for the first time anyway after 2 years of missing out. So that should be something.
Will that be at Madison Square Garden, Josh?
I believe so. Yeah, that's the plan as far as I'm aware.
Neil, you've been there, haven't you, Neil? Madison Square Garden.
I have been there. I went to New York a few years back, and I saw a WWE event on Boxing Day. But it was a fantastic experience and a brilliant place to visit. With all the history of the place, it's interesting just to see some of the photos on the walls in and around the building. So yeah, it's a great place. So it'd be a good place for darts.
Josh, one of the most recent new incarnations of a PDC tournament was the Champions League tournament. That was broadcast on the BBC. Now, I'm old school, and I'm sure Neil will agree with me. Darts on the BBC. I grew up with darts on the BBC, and it was. It was nice to see darts back on the BBC, but that tournament's been canned, doesn't it? It doesn't take place anymore. Why is that?
I'm not too sure. I mean, I must admit, the coverage on the BBC wasn't brilliant in terms of the camera work and everything. It didn't really hit it off. I think I'd love to see more darts on the BBC, but I think you'd want a more prestigious tournament. I think it was only over a couple of days, wasn't it? And it was 8 players in a group stage format. And it was another non-ranking event. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, the Premier League, one of the biggest tournaments, is a non-ranking event. But I think something had to make way on the calendar. And I think that was the easiest one to can. It was the newest.
But didn't they play at Schalke Stadium?
That was a World Series event, yeah.
That was a World Series.
20,000 people.
Yeah.
For I think Mensa won that, yeah.
Yeah, he did. I remember that. I remember that well. Yeah, I mean, Neil, have you got any other thoughts on any sort of formats or something that they could do a little bit differently that maybe sort of buck the trend that we don't see at the moment?
No, I quite like the idea of the 1,001 start. That would certainly... It's just where you want to see something a bit different. You want to see players having to think a little bit differently, use different tactics. So how would they approach a 1,001 game as opposed to a 501 game? I think anything like that, I think I'd be well up for.
I'm not sure I'd be up for playing a 1,001 game though, Neil.
No.
Would be there all night.
Well, it could be the first game that goes over 24 hours, I think, if we play.
Oh, there we go. There's a
charity game.
Yeah, there's a thought. A 24-hour dartathon.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
Ends 2-1.
Yeah. Okay, Woody, well, there you go. There's the guys' thoughts on that. Hopefully that's answered your question. We've had another one come in. This lady goes by the name of Katie Dean. I think she may be my wife.
Familiar?
She does, yeah. This is coming from my wife, Josh. Something to discuss on the podcast. What are your thoughts on banning alcohol? Is it performance enhancing? Now, this comes on the back of a tweet that I saw that she included in her tweet from Darts Anonymous. I follow Dart Anonymous on Twitter. He comes out with some quite amusing stuff.
Good follow. He's a good follow.
Yeah, he's a good follow. Some of it's a bit risque, so apologies, but it is amusing. He said that he'd just been speaking to Jelle Klassen, and Jelle Klassen said if alcohol was banned in darts, then 99% of the field drop 15 to 20 points on their average, and everyone plays rubbish. I'll swap the word that's actually in it. Everyone plays rubbish. And off the back of that, Kate's asking what are your thoughts on banning alcohol and is it performance enhancing? Now, this is quite a controversial subject, Josh. I've seen this bandied around on some of the traditional darts forums before, and a lot of people get very upset when you mention the possibility of booze being performance enhancing. What are your thoughts?
It's a difficult one because I suppose if you think about it, it can be a relaxant, the alcohol, and I think if you're nervous about playing on the big stage, it can, if it is a relaxant and it does enhance your performance, then I don't know. But
do you feel relaxed when you've had your 5 Copperbergs on a Friday night down the King James?
King James is shut now, John, unfortunately. but no, to be fair, like I don't play darts a lot, but I can't drink and play darts. I go all over the place. It doesn't. I know Jelle is one of these few players. I believe I wouldn't know a full list, but Jelle is one of these players that does not drink. Certainly for darts matches, I think he's probably in the minority. I think given the sort of it's in the roots and tradition of the game though. Darts is a pub sport. That's where it's originated from. So I think banning alcohol would be. I don't really see it as being feasible. I mean, the image of the game has been cleaned up a lot. I think. Obviously, it's before my time. If you go back to the 70s, 80s and you see darts on TV, you saw players with a pint on stage, didn't you? Or smoking on stage. I mean, it's certainly cleaned up its act in that respect. But, of course, it still goes on before matches. Players, have a few drinks. But you can go the other way sometimes. And I'm not going to name names, but you can see players that have been visibly, shall we say, a little bit inebriated. And that has affected their performance negatively. So... it's about finding the right balance for each player. But whether it's performance enhancing, it probably is for certain players, but I don't think it'll be feasible to ban it just purely because of the amount of players that do maybe have a drink before they play.
Neil, where do you stand on the subject of alcohol in darts?
So I actually think that there'll come a point when you're having a drink that it obstructs your performance. So if you continue to drink, it's not necessarily going to have a positive impact on your performance. So I'm not surprised that people do it to take the edge off. I remember in football years ago, there used to be rumours that Faustino Asprilla used to have a glass of wine before a game to take the edge off. But I don't get the performance enhancing bit because, as I say, once you've gone past a certain amount of alcohol, surely it has the opposite effect on your game. Not an issue for me.
You don't have a few cans before you beat Josh at tennis, no?
No, not at the moment, no. Not needed.
Not needed, no, probably not. Okay, Josh, we've got one final question that's come through on Twitter from @Steve3874. He says, has the bloom come off the rose with Fallon Sherrock? A poor performance at the World Championship, no PDC wins, no tour card, and now appearing in the WDF version of the World Championship. Josh, has the bloom come off the rose with Fallon? Is she on a downward trajectory?
No, I don't think so. I mean, Fallon is 27 years of age. She's still in the early stages of her darts career. You know, I'd say the last few months have been a little bit disappointing for her. I mean, if she'd have got to the third round of the World, she may have had a PDC tour card outright. She didn't play poorly against Steve Beaton, but lost out. Q School, it's a very tough school. And I think the media coverage and scrutiny surrounding her was unprecedented, really. The amount of people that were, I don't want to say waiting for her to fail, but there was that element which I found a little bit uncomfortable, you know, because of course she's going to be bigged up given what she's done over the last couple of years. And she was a scout for everyone. And I think she maybe struggled a little bit with that expectation, but she's still a quality player. I think she'll be better for the experience and the disappointment of Q School. We've seen her reach a Grand Slam quarter-final, let's not forget, in November, playing some amazing darts and almost beating the now world number one. So I don't think she's on a downward trajectory, but no, you're not going to be playing at your best week in, week out. And I think she's got a fantastic chance at the WDF World Championship to win a women's world title. And for all the fantastic achievements she's enjoyed over the last couple of years at the World Championship and reaching the World Series finals, the Grand Slam quarterfinals, she'll want to be called a world champion. And she's got a fantastic chance to achieve that at the Lakeside. And I wish her all the best in that.
Neil, as Josh says there, with a lot of the media coverage that Fallon's had in the last 12 to 18 months, I think, it's very hard to sort of maintain that shine, isn't it, if you like? And, she is the queen of the palace, and she did take the roof off the place with, the wins that she had at Ali Pali. But to maintain that on a consistent basis and carry on that upwards trajectory every time that she turns out and throws a dart, it's very difficult and perhaps a little bit unfair.
Yeah, I think it's unfair. I think she's been brilliant at times. She's clearly someone that thrives in, with a big crowd, and she lifts her game for that. But every player has a lull. Every player, there's not one single player that performs at the top of their game every single time they step on that stage, and she's no different. So I think some of the comments are unfair, and I think she'll be back, and I think there'll be more memorable wins to come from Fallon.
Yeah, I agree. I think she'll come good. I'm not saying that she's going to win the next World Championships, but I think there's a lot of the story still to be written for Fallon, and for me, it's only positive. As ever, thanks for your questions. You can always get in contact at Josh's Dartistry on Twitter, or drop us a message on the Facebook page. That was Josh's Twitter chatter.
This is Nathan Aspinall, and you're listening to Josh's Dartistry.
Right then, gents, that brings us to the end of the show. Episode 31 in the can. Josh, still lots to look forward to this week, beginning with the Premier League again on Thursday.
Yeah, another really big night coming up in Nottingham, night 6. Can Michael van Gerwen make it 3 on the bounce? Then we've got the Pro Tour, which resumes again at the weekend. So the action keeps on coming, John.
And when's the next major, Josh? I'm going to put you on the spot now. When's the next darting major?
So the Premier League is ongoing, John, but the next ranking major is the World Match Play in July at the Winter Gardens. Always one of the highlights of the darting calendar. So looking forward to that one.
Excellent stuff. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure. Josh, thank you for your time.
Thank you as always, John.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time.
Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry.